This podcast contains descriptions of violence against children and adult language and is not suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Suffer the Little Children, the podcast giving voices back to the victims of child abuse murder and their families. I'm your host, Laine, and this is episode 205, Marion Jester-Montoya, Retold, Part 1. In my 13th episode, I shared the story of 10-month-old Marion Jester-Montoya, an adorable and joyful little girl with a head full of dark hair and an ever-present smile. Marion died on January 7, 2020, after her mother's boyfriend, Trevor Rowe, decided that instead of leaving Marion with his mother for the day like he usually did, he would stuff the baby into a backpack and leave her in the trunk of his car all day. Now, I'm retelling Marion's story from start to finish, including every update I've come across since the original episode. Most importantly, this retelling involves Marion's family, as it should have from the beginning. This is the heartbreaking story of Marion Jester-Montoya. When I first started the now-defunct Suffer the Little Children blog in 2019 and the podcast in 2020, I hadn't yet realized how important it is to involve the family when telling these kids' stories. I often shared stories without the family's involvement when I wasn't able to get in touch with them. For families, it can be incredibly re-traumatizing to find out a creator has released an entire podcast episode or YouTube video about their child without their participation or permission. 2 years ago, I pledged never to tell a child's story again without talking to the family and involving them if possible. It's a lesson I wish I'd learned earlier. That's why, from time to time, you'll see a Retold episode show up in the show's feed. These episodes tell the child's story with their family's help, or at least their permission, and include a lot of information that I didn't have the first time around. Marion has had a piece of my heart since I first told her story in 2020. I've been in contact with Marion's family since soon after episode 13 came out, and I've planned for a long time to retell her story with their help. I'm honored to do that in this episode and the next. At about 9 a.m. on Tuesday, January 7, 2020, 27-year-old Trevor Rowe reportedly left his half-duplex on Boston Avenue in Lubbock, Texas, with his 2 children, leaving his live-in girlfriend, Veronica Weems, sleeping. After dropping off his kids, Trevor went to his job as a roofer with members of Veronica's family. Around 10, Veronica called Trevor and told him he needed to come get her 10-month-old daughter, Marion, so Veronica could sleep. Normally, Trevor would take the baby to his mom to watch Marion for the day while he went to work. His mom, Kathy Rowe, later said she was waiting that morning for Trevor and Marion to arrive, but they never did. To this day, no one, not even Trevor, can explain why he just didn't bother taking Marion safely to his mom's house or even calling a member of Marion's father's side of the family who would have taken her in an instant. Instead, he took 10-month-old Marion to work with him, even though, for obvious reasons, a roofing job isn't exactly a child-friendly environment. Not to worry, Trevor reasoned. Of course, he wouldn't take the baby on the roof with him. Instead, he decided to do something infinitely more dangerous and inexplicable. This 27-year-old man, who surely knew better, stuffed Marion into a backpack, zipped it up, and left it on the passenger side floorboard of his black Dodge Charger. Then he left the car and went to work. On that January day, the temperature in Lubbock was approximately 62 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 17 degrees Celsius. That doesn't sound bad, but as you might remember from my episode about hot car deaths, even mild temperatures can turn deadly inside a closed car that isn't running. In this case, the interior of Trevor's car may have risen to approximately 113 degrees Fahrenheit, or 45 degrees Celsius. Now imagine how hot it would get inside a backpack in that car for the entire tiny human being trapped inside. According to his police statement, Trevor said that Marion hadn't eaten since 8 o'clock the previous evening. When he returned a little bit later on to check on Marion, she had escaped the backpack. Besides common sense, that should have been his first sign that his plan was less than foolproof. Even so, he shoved the baby back into the bag and zipped it up tightly. Why did he do this? Because, he said, he didn't want anyone to see that he'd left Marion alone in the hot car. Trevor returned to the car around 1 p.m., drove to pick up some fast food for himself, and stopped at 2 separate stores. When he pulled over to eat, he finally thought to check on Marion, who he found was still inside the backpack, lightly crying but breathing. At this point, even a slightly reasonable person would have let the baby out, maybe given her something to eat for the first time in 17 hours, let her fill her lungs with fresh air, or cuddled or consoled her in any way. Not Trevor Rowe. He did none of those things. Instead, he crammed Marion into the backpack yet again, zipped it up, and casually finished his lunch before returning to his work site. Before leaving the car, he pulled the back seat forward and, through the opening, moved the backpack into the trunk so Marion really had no chance to escape that car. I can only imagine the fear, confusion, and pain that baby Marion felt in that dark, cramped, sweltering space as the air she breathed became hotter and scarcer. There's no way Trevor's actions that day didn't qualify as torture. Trevor later told police that when he returned to the car after work at approximately 4:50 p.m., he checked on Marion and found her pale, unresponsive, and not breathing. He didn't perform any life-saving measures on the spot, though. Instead, perhaps so his co-workers wouldn't see him resuscitating an unresponsive baby, he drove to the intersection of 130th Street and Upland Avenue in Lubbock, a location that is literally in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by open fields. Here, he claims, he attempted CPR. He also called 911 at about 4:54 p.m.
911, what is your emergency?
Yes, I need an ambulance. I'm on the corner of 113th and Upland. I have an infant with me. She's not breathing.
Okay, let me get you to the paramedics. Stay on the phone, okay?
All right, thank you.
As you heard, Trevor told the dispatcher he was at the intersection of 113th and Upland, an intersection that doesn't appear to exist. According to police, it was the intersection of 130th and Upland. It's just a small discrepancy, and I'm sure it was just a mistake, but it further proves what a dumbass Trevor is. Lubbock police officers arrived just before 5 p.m. and rushed Marion to University Medical Center in Lubbock, where, tragically, Marion was pronounced dead just a month and 3 days before her first birthday. Because of the circumstances, the Metropolitan Special Crimes Unit, a joint force consisting of investigators from the Lubbock Police Department and the Lubbock County Sheriff's Office, was called to the scene. Trevor was questioned, giving a lengthy statement to the police. Then, just hours after Marion's death, at about 1 a.m. on Wednesday, January 8, 2020, Trevor was arrested and charged with capital murder. His arrest warrant reads, Trevor Rowe advised he knew that placing a person into a trunk was dangerous to human life. Trevor Rowe advised that placing someone into a backpack was even more dangerous. After his arrest, he was held in the Lubbock County Detention Center. His bond was set at $2 million. Trevor Marquis Rowe was born on November 21, 1992. His father, Francis Leon Rowe, Jr., was born on May 2, 1963, to Francis Leon Rowe, Sr. and Lois Jean Jackson Rowe. On December 28, 1998, Francis married a woman named Mary Kathleen Weems, who may or may not be Trevor's biological mother, and goes by the name Kathy Rowe. They were divorced on August 26, 2010. Francis, who was a United States Marine and earned a degree in computer science at South Plains College, died on April 22, 2018, leaving behind 2 children, Trevor and his sister Tiara, whose Facebook bio, as of October 2025, reads, Free my brother. Trevor's booking report from January 2020 lists him as black with light skin, black hair, brown eyes, and a small build at 6 feet tall and 145 pounds. According to his Facebook page, which is no longer available, Trevor got engaged on February 3, 2012 to Stephanie Sanchez, who is the mother of Trevor's son, born in 2014. Stephanie also had a little girl who was born in 2012 who isn't Trevor's biological daughter, although he claimed her as his own. Trevor's Facebook feed was a constant stream of requests for someone to talk to him or hang out with him to keep him from being bored at home. There were also multiple memes about ideal relationships and wanting someone you can't have. On September 24, 2016, he posted that he was feeling excited, saying, "For the first time in 5 years, I'm single." It's unclear if he and Stephanie ever got back together after that. On November 28, 2016, he posted a meme that said, "Dear me, I hate you. You're weak. You deserve the pain. You're imperfect. You'll never be good enough. I hope you die." On December 22nd of the same year, he posted another meme, "I'm fucking insane, but my heart is pure and intentions are gold." Maybe not so much that last part. Trevor also made what was, in retrospect, a very eerie post all the way back on January 28, 2011, when he was probably still in high school. It read, "Well, I'm at the funeral for Elizabeth Ennin, and it's a very sad day. My heart and prayers go out to the Ennin family. I can't imagine how they must feel. What kind of cold, heartless monster would take an innocent girl away from such a loving family? It's unforgivable." Elizabeth Ennin was a 15-year-old girl who disappeared from a motel in Lubbock, where she was babysitting the 2 children of a family friend, Humberto Maldonado Salinas, who was present when Elizabeth's mother reported her missing and helped pass out flyers about her disappearance. When he came under scrutiny, Salinas even tried to implicate his own 19-year-old son in the girl's disappearance. It was later proven that Salinas kidnapped and strangled Elizabeth, leaving her by the roadside, and he was convicted of capital murder and sentenced to life in prison without parole. Trevor probably doesn't even remember making that post so long ago, but in hindsight, it's impossible not to see the irony in it. By 2020, Trevor had a criminal record that included theft, domestic assault, and abandoning or endangering a child with the intent to return. That last charge stems from an incident in 2018 in which Trevor left his young son and stepdaughter sleeping at home unattended while he took off on a bicycle to buy food. It seems the children awoke and set off the burglar alarm, to which police responded. When they arrived, they heard a child crying inside the home. The door was unlocked, but there was no adult on the property. Those charges were later dismissed in the interest of justice, whatever that means. A 2014 charge of domestic assault, however, was not dismissed, and Trevor was sentenced to 45 days in jail after pleading guilty to that charge. Now, a little info about Marion's mother, Veronica Marie Weems, who was born in May 1998. Weems is her married name, but she's also gone by her biological father's last name, Hager, her mother's maiden name, Piles, and her stepfather's last name, Jester. One of Veronica's several Facebook profiles offers a small insight into her personality with the intro, "I am me. If you don't like it, fuck off." Indeed. Veronica's high school years looked about as tumultuous and drama-filled as any other teenage girl's. Judging by her former social media profiles, it appears she went through true loves like most people go through tissues, which may factor into some of the confusion in this story. I'll pause here for a word from my sponsors. Marion's father is a young man named Emilio Montoya. Emilio's parents, Ramon and Sheila, were married on September 4, 1982. Sheila brought 2 children, Carla and Michael, into the marriage, and she and Ramon had 3 more children together. Their first, Rebecca Aurora, was born in April 1983, followed a few years later by their second daughter, Katrina Alma, in August 1986, and finally their son, Emilio Abaristo, in July 1993. When she was 18, their older daughter, Becky, had a son she named Alex. Because she was so young and wanted the best for Alex, Becky asked her parents to take him in. Along with their children, Sheila and Ramon raised Alex from the age of 18 months. The family experienced its first major tragedy on June 20, 2017, when Ramon and Sheila's older daughter, Becky, died unexpectedly. Becky was only 34, and her loss was devastating to the family. Her son, Alex, was 15 at the time. Becky sounds like she was universally adored. Everyone says she had an infectious laugh, a soft heart, and a beautiful singing voice. She loved owls, makeup, tattoos, and karaoke. She dreamed of being a makeup artist and a singer, and she very much wanted to be a contestant on The Voice. It was roughly early 2018 when Emilio found himself working at McDonald's with a familiar face, Trevor Rowe, whom he'd been friends with in high school. The two lost touch after graduation. Someone else who shared their shift at McDonald's was Veronica Jester. Emilio began dating Veronica, and things looked very good for a while for the young couple. On a photo of Veronica and Emilio, posted on Facebook in May 2018, Sheila addressed the caption to her late daughter. "Becky, it's time to let your brother know you've met her. Veronica is a sweet, sweet girl. You would love her." While Veronica was dating Emilio, though, she was also reportedly sleeping with her ex-boyfriend, Thomas Weems, as well as Trevor Rowe. After she became pregnant in mid-2018, Veronica broke up with Emilio. It didn't take her long to rebound, because on October 13th, 2018, when she was a little more than halfway through her pregnancy, Veronica became Mrs. Thomas Wayne Weems in a very casual backyard ceremony. Veronica had dated Thomas in the past, starting somewhere around 2015. Thomas knew he wasn't the baby's father, but he allowed Veronica to claim he was. Veronica even announced him as the father on Facebook. Marion Aviana Weems was born on February 10, 2019, in Lubbock, Texas. She was a perfectly, adorably chubby baby girl with big, expressive brown eyes and a head full of thick, dark brown hair, often with a headband or a large bow. Veronica was convinced that Trevor Rowe was Marion's father. She called him to let him know the baby was born, and when Trevor visited them in the hospital for the first time, he took pictures of Marion, sending them to the Montoyas, along with the message, "This baby looks exactly like Emilio, not me." He insisted there was no way Marion was his daughter. The following day, Trevor took Emilio to the hospital to meet Marion. When they arrived, Veronica's mom, Angie, pulled them aside and asked them not to say anything about Thomas not being the father, because Thomas's family didn't know and would be very upset if they found out. Veronica was doing everything she could to keep that information quiet as well, including refusing to have a DNA test done. In March 2019, Emilio's father, Ramon Montoya, was diagnosed with liver cancer and given only weeks to live. The day after the diagnosis, Emilio reached out to the Texas Attorney General's Child Support Division to force a DNA test, which proved that Marion was indeed Emilio's daughter. The family of Veronica's husband, Thomas, was very unhappy when they learned Thomas was not the father. Not long after the test, Veronica moved in with the Montoyas. Ramon was able to spend the last weeks of his life enjoying his precious granddaughter. Before he passed, he reassured his family by saying, "I've lived a good life. I got to see the world. I've done things others only dream of doing and will never have the chance to do. I have 3 beautiful kids, I have 3 grandsons, and a brand new granddaughter, and nothing could make me any happier." Ramon served in the Navy for 10 years as a young man, after which he worked for several TV stations in New Mexico, finally working as a critical care nurse for over 20 years. He loved music, singing, dancing, playing the guitar, collecting comic books, and going to the movies. In fact, during his final weeks, when he was unable to walk, Emilio and Trevor carried Ramon into the theater to watch Avengers Endgame. Sadly, Ramon Montoya passed away on May 4, 2019, at the age of 63. The night before Ramon's funeral, Veronica stayed at a family friend's house. Who did she sleep next to? Trevor. Who did she sit with at the funeral? Trevor. And who was the family furious to see Veronica hugging up on at Emilio's father's funeral? Trevor. Incidentally, the family friend they stayed with told Sheila something chilling. While Veronica was staying with him, he told Sheila, "That girl is bad news. She doesn't care about that baby or take care of her." The day after the funeral, Veronica took Marion and moved into Trevor's place, the right side of a duplex on Boston Avenue in Lubbock. When Trevor apparently kicked her out, Veronica briefly roomed with a guy she was working with, but when the rent came due, she had no money to pay it, so he too kicked her out. I'll give you one guess as to who she moved in with. Trevor. Emilio took Veronica to court over custody of Marion, at which time he also requested a name change, which was granted. In honor of Emilio's father Ramon and his late sister Becky, Marion's name was legally changed from Marion Aviana Weems to Marion Aviana Rebecca Jester-Montoya. According to Sheila, Marion was a tremendous help to the family as they dealt with Ramon's death. She said, "We knew she was special." This is an audio clip from a video taken in the Montoya house in late 2019. Marion was just starting to talk, and she was the sweetest, happiest baby.
Where's Dada? Say hi, Dada. Say hi, Dada.
Wherever Artemis is getting out at, Dahlia just was out.
No, Dahlia can get out to the small space.
She's waiting.
Dada?
She's not waiting. Are you looking at me?
Say hi, Dada.
Say hi, Dada. Hi, Dada. Hi, Dada.
Say hi, Dada.
Say hi, Dada. Say it again. Say hi, Dada. There you go.
In the foreground, you can hear Sheila and Emilio talking to Marion, of course, but the other male voice in the background talking about the dogs getting out belongs to Trevor Rowe. Despite Veronica using the men like human musical chairs, the longtime friends had continued talking, at least at first. Only when baby Marion started showing obvious signs of being afraid of Trevor did Emilio cut off the friendship. That's when he decided to get CPS involved. Emilio and others contacted CPS several times regarding the care of Marion by Veronica and Trevor. The first call was after Marion returned from a visit with her mother. Emilio was highly concerned that his perpetually happy and giggly baby wouldn't stop crying and seemed to be in pain. He took her to the emergency room, only to find out she tested positive for methamphetamine. Emilio was awarded temporary custody for 3 months while CPS investigated the case. It was dismissed when they were unable to determine the source of the drugs. Emilio said, "They couldn't find who had the methamphetamine. They decided to close the case because everybody tested clean." You'll hear more about that situation in the next episode, when you'll hear my conversation with the Montoyas. The next call to CPS came from someone other than Emilio. The caller expressed concern for the living conditions in the home Trevor and Veronica shared, where Marion, as well as Trevor's 2 children, lived part-time. Emilio said,
Trevor Rowe's house is filthy, messy. I was like, there's poop everywhere. His kids physically and literally roll in dog poop at his house.
Referencing Trevor's criminal record, Emilio added,
As a parent, I don't trust him. I was like, I don't want my kid there.
Emilio also told a CPS worker that he didn't trust Trevor with Marion. "I personally wouldn't trust him with my daughter, and that's just how I felt. It's clear he never cared, and he didn't want her to be there. He wanted her gone. He didn't want her to be at the house." Emilio believed Trevor took every opportunity to pass Marion on to someone else, which makes his decision to take her to work with him that fateful day all the more inexplicable. Emilio called CPS the 3rd time in October 2019 due to a bleeding rash he discovered, stretching almost the entire length of Marion's leg. He called again just before Christmas 2019 when he found bruising on his daughter's thigh. In an ongoing text exchange with a CPS caseworker, Emilio sent photos of bruises on Marion's head, neck, and bottom. According to him, he told the caseworker,
This is getting progressively worse. And I was like, and I'm going to get a call one day that something bad's going to happen. I was like, I don't want that call. Something needs to be done now. We called. We sent pictures. We did the right thing that I could do legally. But what happens when the one system that can help you out chooses to just ignore you and write you off? I believe my concerns were rightly placed, and I wish that I could have done something.
At the time of Marion's death, the Montoyas were in the process of obtaining joint physical custody of the baby, in which Veronica would care for Marion from the 1st through the 15th of the month, and Emilio would have her from the 16th through the end of each month. The Montoyas actually had Marion for a total of about 7 of her almost 11 months. In June 2020, Sheila said, Emilio could have and planned to file for full custody, but he never got the chance. The last time Emilio saw his daughter was on January 4th, 3 days before she died, when he dropped her off at Veronica and Trevor's house. Marion, he said, did not want to go back. She cried and ran from Trevor, screamed at the top of her lungs. He said the baby crawled as fast as she could to him and clung to him as Veronica came to take her. So we knew something was wrong. Why didn't anybody listen to me before? Unfortunately, nothing was done. As is too often the case in my episodes, the agency tasked with child protection utterly failed to protect this child. And on January 7th, 2020, Emilio received the call he feared most. He later told a reporter, "We were all devastated." Time for another quick sponsor break. After Marion's death, it took Veronica an entire week to move out of the accused killer's house. A family friend and local musician, Bud Castilleja, organized a 2-night memorial concert at the Den in Lubbock to help raise funds for the Montoya family. The concert was called the Marion R. Montoya Memorial Show. Bud told a reporter,
I'm just amazed that this community has come together this quickly and, almost immediately. I still have people asking me if they can come out and perform or help in any way. Yeah, they were very excited to have that child in their lives. As soon as they found out the news, they were buying clothes. He was asking me for tips, like, hey, if the baby's doing this, how can I get it to go to sleep a little better? I can't imagine someone doing that to anyone, let alone a 10-month-old baby. Yeah, I hope that we actually shine a light on this kind of thing. Child abuse is surprisingly common, and I hate to use that word when we talk about that, but, it does happen a lot. This isn't the first story, and unfortunately, it probably won't be the last.
Over a dozen bands performed, and several prize raffles were also held. All told, the concert brought in over $600 in donations. Emilio's sister, Katrina, also set up a Facebook fundraiser for Emilio and their mother, Sheila, which exceeded its $10,000 goal. They were able to give Marion a beautiful send-off. Marion's viewing was held on January 15, 2020, at Calvillo Funeral Home and Chapel. She lay in a tiny white casket, wearing a white satin dress with a pink sash and a giant white bow on her head. Her baby doll was nestled next to her in the casket, which rested on top of her pink Minnie Mouse blanket. The pedestal holding Marion's casket was surrounded by her favorite toys. Photos played on a screen overhead, and the beloved little girl was surrounded by heart-shaped balloons and flower arrangements. The funeral home did a lovely job, but the shell of a baby in that casket bore no resemblance whatsoever to the happy little girl with the sparkle in her big brown eyes, the chubby cheeks, and the great big joyful smile. Sheila even posted on Facebook during the viewing on January 15th, "Oh my God, that's not even my baby. Rot in hell, Trevor Rowe. I hate you." During Marion's viewing and at her funeral service the following day, the Montoya family was shocked to see that Marion's incubator, as they so aptly called Veronica, had the audacity to wear Trevor Rowe's leather jacket to the funeral of her own baby, whom he was accused of murdering. As far as I'm concerned, the fact that no one punched her teeth down her throat is a testament to the upstanding character of the Montoya family. Sheila posted on Facebook that Veronica's tasteless fashion choice displayed a lack of love for our sweet baby, not to mention clear disrespect for Emilio and his family. During Marion's funeral, several white doves were released into the air, and Marion's Aunt Katrina sang a heartbreaking rendition of Somewhere Over the Rainbow. When grief caused her voice to falter, her brother Emilio stood up and joined in. Marion was cremated, and because Veronica chose a tiny 3-inch urn that didn't hold much, most of Marion's remains went to the Montoya family. They received a gorgeous little pink urn with Marion's footprints on it and a place on top to hold a candle. The urn bears the inscription, Marion Aviana Rebecca Jester-Montoya, February 10, 2019 to January 7, 2020. The Montoyas ultimately decided to bury Marion's remains in New Mexico next to her grandpa Ramon. The little pink urn now holds her necklace, her bracelet, her earrings, and a lock of her dark brown hair. Along with some of the baby's things, it maintains a place of honor on the top shelf of Emilio's bookcase, next to his sister Becky's urn and some of her keepsakes. Sheila made the following Facebook post on January 19th. This weekend and next weekend would have been our weekends to spend with our precious Marion, but because of others' thoughtless decisions to abuse and ultimately take the life of this precious angel, we will never have another joyous weekend with this beautiful baby girl who was our life. She brought so much joy to our family, especially my son. His and her faces both lit up the room when they were together. She could do nothing wrong in our eyes. She was always so happy, laughing, playing, taking steps, fighting with her pets, Artie, Grayman, who were dogs, and her cat, Lily. She loved FaceTiming with her aunties and her cousins. I hated it when we had to take her home because she would cry and hold on to her dad. The last time we had her, we had to stop by her house and give her mom some eye drops. When her mom came out to the car, Marion started kicking her feet and crying. Her mom said, "It's okay, baby. You're going to go to the mall with Daddy and Mimi. Don't cry. Mommy will be here when you get back." We drove off, and immediately she looked around, stopped crying, and started kicking her feet and squealing with joy. My son said, "She really doesn't want to be there. They're doing something to her." I told him, "Yes, they are. She should be excited to see her mom, and she's not." I knew without a doubt they were abusing this sweet girl, but our hands were tied because CPS of Lubbock wrote us off, because they said we do not help with custody issues. We tried to tell them this was not a custody issue. It was a concern regarding neglect and abuse, but because they had already decided it was, they wrote us off. My son told them he was afraid something bad was going to happen to his daughter. He told this to 3 different CPS workers, but as you can see, they didn't care, nor did they want to take the time to investigate the case. And now this beautiful baby is an angel. Mimi loves and misses you. I wish we could have done more to protect you from these monsters. Emilio, Sheila, and Katrina gave a few news interviews soon after Marion's tragic death.
Marion was a very active baby, would run around. She was actually learning to walk.
She'd stop and she'd look at us and she'd smile.
Her favorite thing was attacking my poor dogs and crushing the little cat that we have here. We'd always have to grab the cat and move it to a different room. The cat would never scratch or anything, it just accepted its fate. But she always had a smile on her face when she was here. We took her to Roswell and she got to meet all the family.
We were planning her first birthday, and it wasn't going to be Minnie Mouse. We found the dress we were getting for her, which is never going to happen now.
If you don't want her, give her away. Give her up. Don't keep her when you don't want her. If he had had her, if he had had custody of her, she would still be here today. She wouldn't be gone.
Trevor came out to get her, and she immediately started screaming and grabbing me like this. The last thing I remember seeing is her turning around and looking at me like, "Why are you making me go with them? Why are you not helping me?"
To fit her in a little bitty backpack, he had to have literally stuffed her in there.
What do we end up with? We end up with baby toys, baby clothes, baby diapers, and no baby.
Now, the baby that was our world is now gone.
I hope he never gets out. I hope Veronica feels the same way. And I know she's defended him on a lot of other things, but I don't think she can defend him anymore.
On that subject, consider this post made on January 22nd by Emilio's other sister, Carla, which seems pointed directly at Veronica. So you can't get up in the morning and take care of your baby, but you can be at the jail at 8 a.m. to visit with her killer. You are 100% involved in the death of my precious niece. Your time will come. Justice will be served. Veronica, who appeared to have unfriended Trevor on Facebook after her daughter's death, nonetheless started visiting him in jail the same month Marion died. Others pointed this out to the family on Facebook, and ultimately, Sheila herself marched right into the Lubbock County Detention Center on one such visitation day in January. She sat down in the lobby, turned on her camera, and waited to find out if what people were saying was true. Sure enough, she caught Veronica on camera entering the jail parking lot, evidently spotting Sheila's car and breezing right on past.
I believe this is them pulling into the parking lot right now. I'm waiting to see if she walks up. I think she saw my car. She drove right by it. This is her coming into the jail right now.
Eventually, Veronica entered the building where Sheila confronted her without the camera rolling. Sheila later said that when she asked Veronica why she was there, Veronica retorted that it was no concern of Sheila's and that Veronica didn't have to answer to her. Sheila responded by announcing to everyone in the lobby that Veronica was there to visit the man who murdered her baby, and that she believed Veronica was part of the plan and needed to be arrested too. It takes a lot of guts to confront someone like that, and I give Sheila a lot of credit. Emilio and his family don't believe Veronica was a fit mother, but he said she wouldn't admit that or hand over Marion's custody to him for fear of how she would appear to others. In Emilio's opinion, CPS was negligent in not removing Marion from the home her mother shared with Trevor, and the agency should be held responsible, saying,
I don't care if this takes 20 years or 50, I'm going to be on them till the end of time.
A spokesperson for CPS confirmed that there was prior involvement with the FPS, but the details were being investigated. Ultimately, the case was dropped. As of this recording, the Montoya family still has never received a copy of Marion's official autopsy report. They were told that Marion died from asphyxiation. Sheila believes that Marion was also given Benadryl to make her sleepy on the morning of her death, and she is sure that Veronica gave it to Marion. She also said that the family is relatively sure that January 7th was not the first time Marion had been stuffed into that backpack. You'll hear more about that during my conversation with the Montoya family in the next episode. Sheila and Emilio moved out of their house after Marion died. Sheila said it was just too hard to live there, surrounded by bittersweet memories. They moved into a small house elsewhere in Lubbock. My heart breaks for the Montoyas. They've endured more tragedy than any one family should ever have to bear. One bright light in the darkness is that Emilio's sister, Katrina, had a baby in November 2020, and the little girl, who just turned 5, is just the blessing the family deserves. Now, I'll pause for one last sponsor break. Marion's first birthday would have been on February 10th, 2020. In her honor, a family friend created a beautiful pink and white Minnie Mouse cake. In mid-2020, while awaiting trial, Trevor Rowe tried to get out of jail on a legal technicality due to COVID-based court delays. According to Texas legal statutes, the district attorney's office has 90 days in which to convince a grand jury to indict a defendant for a felony. The statute states that if this deadline passes, the defendant must be released on a personal recognizance bond. On March 29th, Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed Executive Order GA-13, suspending certain aspects of the Texas Code of Criminal Procedure during the global coronavirus pandemic, including releasing violent crime suspects on personal bonds. The order was intended to prevent the release of dangerous criminals in Texas, including defendants accused of or previously convicted of violent crimes. Governor Abbott said upon signing the order, "Releasing dangerous criminals makes the state even less safe. That also complicates and slows our ability to respond to the disaster. Trevor's 90-day deadline came and went. On April 17, 2020, he filed a petition saying he believed he had been unlawfully restrained of his liberty by the sheriff of Lubbock County, Texas. Imagine complaining about being unlawfully restrained while you're in jail for murdering a baby by forcing her into a backpack. Luckily, on April 23rd, the Texas Supreme Court affirmed the governor's order. A statement from Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton read, "The Texas Supreme Court's decision rightfully protects the health and safety of Texans from the unlawful release of potentially thousands of dangerous individuals into our communities." On Friday, April 24th, attorneys for the state and for Trevor appeared by video conference in the 137th District Courtroom, along with Trevor via webcam. Prosecutor Baron Slack argued that offenses like capital murder do have exceptions regarding bonds, saying, "This is a capital case with plenary evidence." He presented several exhibits to the court, including police reports detailing Trevor's confession, the autopsy report showing that Marion died of asphyxiation, and a video of a jail conversation between Trevor and a family member in which Trevor admitted to killing the baby. The family member, Prosecutor Slack said, told Trevor to start acting crazy. Well, at least we know he got his morality from somewhere. There had been 0 confirmed cases of COVID-19 at the Lubbock County Detention Center, so prosecutors contended that jail might be safer for Trevor at that point. In response to Trevor's petition, prosecutors said, "Contrary to what applicant has stated in his writ application, the LCDC has enacted extensive policies and procedures to face any potential threat posed by COVID-19. Considering the nature of the crime of which Trevor was accused, capital murder, as well as his 2 prior misdemeanor convictions for domestic assault, Judge John Trey McClendon III told the attorneys and the defendant he would make a ruling at a later date. Emilio and Sheila spoke with an Everything Lubbock reporter via video call after finding out about Trevor's request to be released.
It's wounds that have not healed, wounds that are never going to heal.
She didn't deserve to die like that. No child needs to be taken away that early in life, to not even celebrate her first birthday. He needs to rot in jail for the rest of his life because he doesn't deserve to be free.
He doesn't deserve to get out because of COVID-19. COVID-19 isn't half as bad as what he did to her.
As soon as the Montoya family found out Trevor was trying to get released on bond, they started a campaign of phone calls, voicemails, and emails to the district attorney's office. The night before the hearing, Sheila said she emailed 25 photos and several videos of Marion to the prosecutor, saying she wanted him and the judge to put a face to Marion's name, to see what a happy baby she was, and to know how much joy she brought to everyone around her. She received a message back from the DA telling her not to worry and that he would ensure justice was done in Marion's case. The following week, Judge McClendon denied the writ but implied Trevor could seek a reduction of bond after he was indicted. In his ruling, Judge McClendon wrote, "It should be noted that whether or not the governor's executive order GA-13 is constitutional, in this particular case, a personal bond would be inappropriate in this court's opinion." On May 5, 2020, a Lubbock County grand jury handed down an indictment of capital murder against Trevor Rowe. If convicted, he could face either life in prison without parole or death. Prosecutor Slack didn't immediately indicate if he intended to seek the death penalty. According to Sheila, in mid-2020, she received a phone call from a detective who told her they were investigating Marion's mother, Veronica Weems, but it doesn't seem anything ever came of that investigation. In 2021, the Montoya family held a memorial on the first anniversary of Marion's death, during which they, along with friends and supporters, gathered at the corner of 130th Street and Upland Avenue in Lubbock, the exact location where Trevor found Marion unresponsive in the backpack. The group sang Marion's favorite songs, while a table nearby displayed some of her toys and photos of their beloved baby. For the next few years, there seemed to be little going on in the case besides multiple pretrial motions. Finally, on April 28, 2023, 3 years after Marion's death, Trevor Rowe accepted a plea agreement, apparently to avoid the death penalty. By pleading guilty to capital murder with a victim under the age of 10, Trevor was sentenced on the spot to serve life in prison without the possibility of parole. At Trevor's sentencing hearing, family members gave victim impact statements, telling Trevor what he had taken from them. In her statement, Sheila told Trevor that he had robbed her of celebrating Marion's future milestones. "I will never again sit and rock her and hold her and kiss her and sing her to sleep at night. Our love and dreams were shattered by an inhumane, heinous act by a person my son called a friend." She added that thoughts of Marion's last moments tortured the family. "We wondered how she must have felt and what her little thoughts were." Emilio told Trevor during his statement that the morning of Marion's death, he had many options. "All you had to do was make a phone call. All it took was one phone call to me, and you know I would have left whatever I was doing that day, whether I got fired or suspended from work. I would have been there. I would have taken her off your hands. I would have kept her and ran away with her if that's what you needed me to do. You couldn't call us to save that baby's life." Since Marion's death, Emilio said, he was unable to hold a job due to anxiety that he wouldn't be available if his family needed him. He did say, however, that he'd never deny Trevor was his friend because of the good memories they shared, including carrying his father, Ramon, to see the Avengers movie before he died. "I will never truly say I hate you. I still remember the good times. I will forever be hurt deep down inside, and I hope you are hurting as well." After the hearing, Prosecutor Slack told a reporter, "You have different mechanisms where the child will die, but here what we knew was that there was extensive intentional actions taken, and the defendant knew that the baby was in a bad condition or in an unsafe environment and continued to take hours of intentional action." Lubbock County District Attorney Sunshine Stanek said she felt a life sentence was an appropriate punishment for Trevor's actions. "The goal in this case, from the very beginning, was that that defendant never, ever walk out of the jail. And this plea accomplishes that. You know, every case is different, but here in Lubbock County, we are going to always fight for the children in this county and give tough sentences on those crimes." Emilio told KCBD 11 after the sentencing,
He was crying as I was talking to him as well. We never broke eye contact. I will never truly just hate him because there were good times along with what's happened today. It is my job to forgive and God's to judge.
Still, Emilio said, he will always wonder why his formerly close friend killed his daughter.
That curiosity makes me want to say, as a friend, can't you just tell me what exactly happened that day?
Emilio and his family will now focus on keeping Marion's memory alive. Touching a necklace he wore, he said,
I still hold on to her ashes right here, and I'll always keep her with me whenever any big events or anything comes up. I always remember her laughing and smiling.
Because of the plea agreement, Emilio and his family didn't have to endure the pain and trauma a trial would undoubtedly cause, and Marion's killer will spend the rest of his life behind bars, where he belongs. Trevor Marquis Rowe, now 32, is currently serving his life sentence in the Wynn Unit in Huntsville, Texas. Veronica Weems, now 27, and her fiancé, 24-year-old Chris Keck, have had 3 children together since Marion's death, a girl in June 2021, and boys in July 2023 and October 2024. We can only hope she's a better mother now than she was 6 years ago. Marion Aviana Rebecca Jester-Montoya wasn't even a year old, but she was given a lifetime worth of love in that short time. Her family's Facebook pages, especially her Mimi Sheila's, are overflowing with photos of the sweet, smiley little girl with the big, bright eyes. According to Marion's obituary, her playtime included bouncing, chasing her pets, playing with her baby doll. She was a sparkle of joy with a smile and personality that will live on in the memory of those who loved her. Sheila said of her granddaughter, Marion was special. She was very smart, very loving. She loved hugging and kissing her dad. She loved eating Cheetos and mac and cheese, dancing and singing with the musical elephant. She loved talking loudly. She had the biggest brown eyes that sparkled and a smile that would light up any room. To a newspaper reporter, Emilio reminisced about his daughter. She was a very smart and happy baby. She was learning to walk, and she could walk from the couch to the screen window and loved to look at the dogs. He also said Marion loved to catch the cat. She had a stuffed elephant that played the song, "Do Your Ears Hang Low," and she loved dancing to it. Emilio said that was her favorite. She couldn't press the button, so she made us do it, and if we weren't fast enough, she'd start yelling. He would give her an unhooked video game controller to play with while he played video games. She liked to sit there and watch me. Every time he called, she would scream, "Dada!" into the phone. She could also say yes and no and ask for things she wanted. Emilio also said, she always knew that I was Dad. In part 2 of Marion's story, you'll hear my recent conversation with Marion's dad, Emilio, her grandma, Sheila, and her aunt, Carla. I spoke with the family about the legal case, how Marion's loss has affected them, who Marion was, and how they want her to be remembered. My sources for today's episode were NBC News, the City of Lubbock, the Lubbock Police Department, Fox 34 News, EverythingLubbock.com, BuzzFeed News, KFYO, the Cavillo Funeral Home, the Anderson Bethany Funeral Home, the Abilene Reporter News, 13 ABC, People, Facebook, East Texas Matters, Houston Public Media, Ancestry.com, Legacy.com, the Lubbock Avalanche Journal, Sheila Montoya, and Emilio Montoya. Quick shout-outs to my newest Patreon supporters and YouTube channel members. Shauna K. from Erlanger, Kentucky. I'm sorry if I brutalized that pronunciation. Grace K. from Happy Valley, Oregon. Ashley B. from Queensbury, New York. And Alex S. and Jacqueline I. from the Andromeda Galaxy. Thank you all so much for your support and for helping me keep making this show. Believe it or not, every pledge makes a big difference. I've lost some patrons over the past year, mainly because I'm not as active as I used to be, but every pledge gets me closer to devoting more time to the podcast. If you're interested, you can support the show at patreon.com/stlcpod. Thanks, everyone. And that's it for this episode. Join me next time for part 2 of Marion's story. If you like the show, please follow or subscribe to Suffer the Little Children on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Spreaker, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast listening app. And please leave me a 5-star rating and a positive review on your favorite podcast platform. Visit the website at sufferthelittlechildrenpod.com. You can support the show by visiting patreon.com/stlcpod, where you can become a patron for rewards ranging from a shout-out by name on the show to exclusive gifts. You can also support the show at ko-fi.com/stlcpod. Follow the podcast on Facebook and Instagram at Suffer the Little Children Pod and on TikTok at STLCpod. View photos related to today's episode on Facebook. This podcast is researched, written, hosted, edited, and produced by Laine. Intro theme music is by Dream Note Music, and all music for the show is licensed from audiojungle.net. For more information about preventing or reporting child abuse, visit childhelp.org or call your area's child abuse hotline. And remember, if you see something, say something.